To anyone I've offended, I just want to say I reinvented electric cars and I'm sending people to Mars in a rocket ship. Did you think I was also going to be a chill, normal dude?
We're back with Elon Musk's turn as SNL host a couple of years ago. It's actually a pretty good setup to introduce a new book about the richest man in the world. He built his empire in part by transforming the electric car and private space travel industries with his companies, Tesla and SpaceX. More recently, he took on social media with his takeover of Twitter, now known as X. He's also no stranger to controversy, and we are getting a behind-the-scenes look at his life and what drives him in the highly anticipated new biography, Elon Musk, written by best-selling author Walter Isaacson, who joins us now. Walter, it is good to see you. I mean, you wrote the seminal biography of Steve Jobs. You've had biographies of Da Vinci and Einstein. What made you choose Elon Musk, and how'd you get him to agree?
Well, first of all, he's definitely not a chill dude. He's right. But he is somebody who is bringing us into the era of electric vehicles, to space travel. And I thought that's going to be an interesting technological tale. But boom, he buys Twitter. And so you see the complexities coming out. He thinks of himself as an epic hero on the world stage, so it wasn't that hard to get him to agree. I think he wanted a biography. I just said, I got to be with you at all times. I got to watch it, and you have no control over the book.
And I wanted to ask you about that because you were granted extraordinary access. You spent the better part of 2 years with him, following him, interviewing him. You seem to have access to everyone in his inner circle, his former girlfriends, former wives, his mother, his father. I mean, everybody. Were you surprised at how transparent it appears he was with you?
You know, he has this thing about transparency at times, whether it's opening up all the algorithms for Twitter or the Twitter files, and he prides himself on that as if he's got some kryptonite shield or something. So yes, though. The answer is yes. I was totally surprised that meeting after meeting, thing after thing, he would just be open.
By the way, did you hear from him now that he's probably read the book? Does he like it?
I've heard that he hasn't read the book.
Okay.
I never sent him an early copy, but he's said a few things, posted a few things on X, and I'm not worried. You know, you got to worry about what the reader thinks. You can't be thinking, what's the subject going to think?
Let's talk about the first few chapters delve into his childhood. It starts there chronologically, of course, but also because this is a key aspect of the person he is today. It was a brutal childhood that you describe in South Africa, a father that the book alleges was abusive in essence. I mean, Elon Musk calls his father someone who subjected him to mental torture.
Well, psychologically abusive.
Yes, Could you give a flavor of what that childhood was like?
You know, Musk was a socially awkward kid, scrawny, beaten up all the time on the playground by the bullies. But the scars from that were nothing compared to having to stand in front of his father, sometimes for more than an hour, silently, while his father took the side of the people who beat him up, the bullies and things. And throughout his life, those demons are dancing around in his head. And sometimes, as his mother May says, the danger for Elon is that he becomes his father. And Elon can turn dark, too, and get very tough on people.
Do you see that aspect?
Oh, yeah. We sometimes see him. He has many personalities. And sometimes you're around a really, half-joking guy or a guy playing, engineering mode in which he's really good. But there's times he goes into what Claire Boucher, his occasional girlfriend known as Grimes, calls demon mode. And that's when he gets dark. Demon mode.
What is that? Can you give some examples of what that kind of behavior
Sometimes, whether it's at dinner or at a meeting or walking on a factory line, you can see the clouds gathering. I remember, for example, 20, 30 times. I'll give you one, which is in South Texas. At the tip of South Texas is Boca Chica, where he has a launch pad for Starship. And one Friday night at around 10 p.m., he's sort of joking about everything. And then he sees that only 2 people are working at the pad. It's 10 p.m. on a Friday night. But you can see the dark, and he just explodes. And for about an hour, he's berating people, and then he orders up what he calls a surge. He wants 200 people there by the next day, so they start working. So this penchant for drama comes out of the childhood, too.
There are occasions in the book where you refer to Musk as being in manic mode. I mean, manic, that is a term of art in mental health. I mean, Are you suggesting, or in any way, do you question whether he struggles with mental illness?
Oh, yeah, we talk about it in the book. He talks about it. He talks about hasn't been officially diagnosed, he says, but he talks about bipolar. He takes a lot of prescription medicines at times. He can be variable in his moods, and sometimes as a Jekyll and Hyde quality, where he will go into a dark, depressed mood and say some things, sometimes things that his father said to him, and then a few hours later you ask him about it, and it's like he almost has no memory.
What do you make of his personal life? I mean, he's fathered 11 children who are currently still with us, and with 3 different women. I mean, what does that say about him?
Well, one of the things is, like everything, he has a weird sense of mission, whether it's getting to Mars or saving human consciousness. And he believes that people should have many more children. Also, it's obviously a bit of an ego there, which is he wants to have a lot of children.
What's he doing with Twitter? He bought it and then seemed to immediately regret it. He did it at a time where things were actually going well for him, and then he takes on this big behemoth. What is that about?
Things were going so well. He had sold 1 million Teslas, brought him out of bankruptcy. He was the only entity that could shoot off rockets into orbit and then land them and reuse them. And I said, man, things are going. He said, but I can't savor success. I've always put chips back on the table. And you could see him looking for some drama. And he goes to Hawaii, meeting another of his girlfriends, Natasha Bassett, and for 2 nights stays up and finally decides, I'm going to buy Twitter.
You know, for better or for worse, Elon Musk is incredibly influential, and maybe influential isn't even the word, incredibly powerful. Some people say he's more powerful than any government, including the U.S. government. We've seen in Ukraine with the flick of a switch. He can turn off the satellite communication and effect a war. In China, he's the only reason, SpaceX is the only way U.S. astronauts get to space anymore. He's transforming the electric car industry. His chargers have a lot to do with whether or not we make this transition to electric energy. And now, on the eve of a presidential election, controlling Twitter, a major source of information, rhetoric, and potentially misinformation. Knowing what you know about him, are you comfortable that this singular man has that kind of influence over our world?
I think it's not great that he has so much power. And you take the Starlink episode in Ukraine, where he had actually geo-fenced off the Crimea so they couldn't do it. He had done it before that night. And now he's creating Star Shield and selling it to the U.S. military. Because he talked to U.S. government officials. He realizes, why am I in the middle of this war? It should be something government officials do. So he sold Starlink to the U.S. government so that the government can control how it's done. But the bigger issue is, why can nobody else get rockets into orbit and land them? Partly, or why can nobody else get 1 million electric vehicles made?
Given his mental state, I mean, you spent this time with him. You know, you talked about perhaps his struggles with mental illness. You know that he's a highly changeable, volatile person. And he has so much unilateral control over so many important things. I mean, how does that sit with you, knowing him as you do? You know, I tell you the story in the book. I tell you how it happens. I tell you how it turns out that each of his things work. And I make you see how difficult it is for somebody to have that much power. And a lot of readers are going to have to judge based on the stories in the book. Walter Isaacson. Well, the book is out. It's called Elon Musk. It's out tomorrow, actually. Thank you for your time, sir. Very much appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on our streaming channel, Today All Day. To watch, head to today.com/allday or click the link right here.